Now, their messages, well, they're polar opposites, but the Occupy Wall Street movement is often compared, you've heard it, to the Tea Party. There's one noticeable difference, though. Occupy demonstrators are getting arrested. So are police dealing with the two movements differently, or are protesters bringing it on themselves? Joining us live from the Occupy protest site in New York, CNN contributor and political anchor for New York One, Errol Lewis, and here in Atlanta, blogger Matt Stevens. So we're going to start with Errol. City officials there, do you think that they're treating these two movements differently? Errol?
It's entirely possible. I mean, the two movements have, I think, different aims and different strategies. The folks here have been engaging in civil disobedience really from day one. That's not something you often saw the Tea Party movement choose to do. I don't think it speaks at all to any difference in the level of commitment. It's just that these folks chose a particular tradition that they wanted to work within, which is a tradition of strategically confronting the law and giving themselves up for arrest. They've been doing it all over the country from day one.
So Matt, there were, as he said, there was really no sort of civil disobedience for the most part, among Tea Party members. There were some angry moments in the beginning, but it was different in a sense to compare to the Occupy movement. But do you think that the treatment by police and officials are different?
Well, I definitely think it is. I mean, first of all, they have delegitimized from the beginning the Occupy Wall Street movement protesters. And what they've done is really just, in a sense, say that what they're arguing about and what they're protesting about is not important. And I think that was the first step. And then with these arrests, definitely. But I think, like Earl said, they brought it on themselves because they've strategized a little bit differently.
All right, Matt. So, hey, Errol, I want to ask you this, and I've been wanting to talk to you about this since we heard about the troops coming home. A lot of troops are going to be coming home from Iraq in the coming weeks. How likely is it that we could see a significant number of troops unable to find jobs and maybe joining these particular protests here in the U.S.?
Well, look, the number of veterans who are homeless is a national disgrace. It's been proclaimed all the way up to the White House. In fact, I was at the White House when they announced their homeless strategy, and they had a very specific aim of doing away with homelessness among veterans within just a couple of years. So this has been a national scandal for a long, long time. Will they specifically flock to this movement or the Tea Party movement or any other? Remains to be seen. I think the underlying problem, though, is a very real one. There are big problems confronting these guys and gals when they come home, including a lack of jobs.
Yeah, you're going to have all those people who are going to come back to the same limited job pool that already exists here. That's a big issue.
Yeah, you have 9.1% unemployment here in the U.S., double-digit unemployment in some states, and then on top of that, you have 1/3 of veterans that are already upset and believe that they don't think that it was worth it to go over to Iraq and Afghanistan in the first place. Now they're coming home to a job market that really isn't there for them. I think it's a recipe for disaster if the right things mix.
It's going to be interesting. Do you support the president because he brought you home from war, or do you not support it because of the economy and because of jobs? That's a decision that they're going to have to face. What happens, Matt, if this movement grows even bigger? What impact could this have on the election?
Oh, this is going to have major impacts on the election. I think even now, and I know the movement is going to grow. It's going to have impacts because now what's going to happen is you've got this movement. It has a face and a voice now. And these candidates are going to now have to answer to the demands that the protesters are talking about. So the economy, that's already priority one for people now, and so now they've got to really face it.
All right, let's move on, Errol, and move us forward to what happens coming up in the upcoming week. Speaking of the election, Herman Cain, Newt Gingrich have scheduled a debate this week. It's on Saturday, a one-on-one modified version of the famous debates between Lincoln and Douglas. 3 hours long. The campaigns say it's a chance to go beyond the sound bites. Take us forward.
I'm sorry, John, I didn't get that last part.
Take us forward. What happens in these Lincoln-Douglas style debates? Are they a game changer here?
Oh, well, I think that, number one, there probably won't be a whole lot of cameras there to record it from gavel to gavel. I don't know what you're planning to do. I'm not sure my organization's going to be there. It sounds like, in some ways, a bit of a stunt. The fact that you've got 2 out of, what are we up to, 8 or 9 candidates who are debating head-to-head, that's great, but we're not at a point where it makes sense for there to be just 2 people debating when no votes have been cast, no primaries or caucuses have been held. And frankly, if you had to narrow it down to two, it's not clear that these are the two that should be doing it. So, you know, an interesting idea. Will it be an intellectual discussion worth hearing? Maybe. Will it change the politics? I have a hard time believing that.
All right, the president. What's on the president's agenda next week, Errol? Errol, can you hear me? Errol
Yes.
Lewis having trouble. What's on the president's agenda next week?
What's happening here next week yet? You're asking?
I said, what is on the president's agenda next week?
Oh,
Yeah.
the president's agenda next week. What the White House is talking about is going back on the offensive with some of the talk about the jobs bill, as well as rolling out more of these initiatives that only the White House can do without any need for help from Congress, because they're not expecting to get it. They've also begun going on the attack, by the way. You've heard the White House roll out the phrase Gordon Gekko capitalism, Gordon Gekko economy. That's aimed at Mitt Romney. They seem to be politically speaking, narrowing it down to going after Romney.
All right. Errol Lewis, thank you. In a very, very loud Zuccotti Park there. A little bit of trouble hearing. That's live television. And thank you, Matt Stevens here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We appreciate both of you.